11 p.m.
Good afternoon and welcome to the July 31st special meeting of Glendale City Council. May we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Agajanian.
Present.
Devine.
Here.
Garpetian.
Here.
Najarian. Mayor Sinanian.
Here. May we have the report, please?
The agenda for the July 31st, 2018 special public meeting of the City Council was posted on Friday, July 27th, 2018 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And I would like to go to item 2 first.
Mayor's commendation presented to Cruise Night 2018 sponsors.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Mayor Sinanian and members of the council. I'm Gabrielle Golia, Senior Community Services Supervisor with the Community Services and Parks Department. The department would like to thank everyone who attended the 25th annual Cruise Night event. This year's event was held on Saturday, July 21st from 5:30 to 10:30 p.m. on downtown Brand Boulevard. Our performances were again hosted this year by Mr. Rock and Roll himself, Brian Byrne. And the performers included Jumping Jack Flash, Motown Magic, and Who's Next, the Who Experience, pardon me. The show wrapped up with a fireworks spectacular, as we've done for a number of years now, and the audience really loves that. For our 25th anniversary, we also included a second stage where we had a DJ playing music, and he had some competitions for the families and kids, including dancing and hula hoop contests. And this year, we also had our popular guest judge for the Car Awards. He was Mr. Adam 12 himself, Kent McCord. People were very excited about seeing him out there. We had between 50 and 55,000 people attend the event this year. And we had more cars than we've had in quite a while. We had 331 cars as compared to last year's 309. And the year before that was only 281. So we've been increasing in our car participation, which is wonderful. Sponsorships are obviously a huge part of this event, and our generous sponsors mean everything to the event. We had $37,500 brought in sponsorships this year from businesses in the area as well as individuals who were generous enough to donate. We also had $11,770 generated in the car registrations. So our total this year for the event was $49,270, and that all goes towards the operation and coordination of the event. Our main 2 sponsors this year that we'd like to recognize today are the Downtown Glendale Association as our naming sponsor and the City of Glendale's Tech Week as our presented by sponsor. So at this point in time, I'd like to invite up Mr. Rick Lemo from Downtown Glendale Association and Darlene Sanchez from Glendale Tech Week to accept our commendations.
Very well. Thank you.
What a great event. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your sponsorship.
So she set the perfect tone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the sponsorship manifests itself in the form of?
Our
How does that
businesses and local residents who donate, they provide a monetary sponsorship, a monetary donation to the city. And in return, we provide advertising opportunities for them in all of our flyers, on all of our banners, as well as booths at the actual event. And we also have radio and television spots that are coordinated as part of our sponsorships.
As strange as my question may have appeared, I'm actually asking about Glendale Tech Week as opposed to Downtown Glendale Association. So the Glendale Tech Week, in other words, City of Glendale, was sponsoring its own event, so, right?
Yes.
Okay. No, so are you. I understand. I understand the Downtown Glendale Association sponsoring.
Yes.
So we were basically subsidizing the event in part.
Some of the departments do individually donate to the event.
Oh.
Glendale Water and Power has also donated some money every year for it, as well as many of our associations, the employee associations and the fire department do also donate.
Okay, and that's why I was asking.
Yes.
There you go. I knew there was a very logical answer to it.
Thank you.
So thank you to our sponsors. I have a commendation for both, and I'm just going to read one of them. And we'll choose the Downtown Glendale Association. And it states, on behalf of the City of Glendale and the City Council, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for your presented by sponsorship of Glendale Cruise Night 2018. Your commitment and support to keep this event exhilarating and successful is exemplary. Congratulations in being part of the 25th Annual Glendale Cruise Night. Zara Sinanyan Mayor. And I'd like you and my other colleague to present these. Thank you. It was truly a very fun event. It was very well attended. A lot of cars. So every year it gets harder and harder to choose the awardees, the winners. Thankfully, we have multiple trophies that we give out, and a lot of the cars benefited from it. A lot of the owners benefited from it. A quick question. Some of the concessionaires that were there, for example, the hot dog cart, whatever that was, a stand, do they, is that like a profit sharing, or how does that work?
Mr. Mayor, yes. They are either registered sponsors with the event, and they have paid in order to have a booth there, or we are partnering with them, such as the Kiwanis Club, as they're a nonprofit organization in the local community, and they're raising money for their nonprofit organizations.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Yes.
But do we at all break even on this, or does it cost the city a lot of extra funding?
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Devine, we haven't finalized all of the numbers for this year yet. We're waiting for our payroll to come in. However, typically we break even just barely. Our costs average right around $50,000, and at $49,270, we're very close to it. So we hope to break even again this year.
Great, perfect, thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you very much, and thank you to all the departments and all the individual employees who were involved in organizing this annual cruise night now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, why don't we move on to the next item, which is agenda item number 1.
Director of Community Development regarding city vote for the expansion and renewal of the Greater Downtown Glendale Community Benefit District. 1A, motion providing direction regarding the city ballots pertaining to the formation of the Greater Downtown Glendale Community Benefit District, and authorizing the city manager to either sign the ballots for the city-owned property in favor of forming the district, sign the ballot for the city-owned property in opposition to forming the district, or to abstain from signing the ballots.
Yes, Ms. McLean?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of council.
Ms. Hiramoto, I'm sorry.
I'm still getting used
Old
to it, too.
habits, yeah, old habits.
Staff is seeking direction today on how the City Council wishes to vote in the pending election to expand and create the Greater Downtown Glendale Community Benefit District. The City of Glendale and successor agency owns 43 properties within this expanded district. And because the City of Glendale and the successor agency own roughly 5.85% of the total ownership, you, just as the other property owners, have the opportunity to submit your ballot and designate a designee to cast that vote to form the Greater Downtown Community Benefit District. Over the past few years, the Downtown Community Benefit District has afforded Glendale with another tool to be flexible and responsive to the needs of businesses. This was created in 2012, immediately following the absence of redevelopment. Over the past few years, we've seen the impacts that the DGA has made to the downtown area. Some of the benefits that we've seen include the ambassadors that you see with those blue shirts that work on Brand Boulevard and on parts of the future Artsock Avenue. We also see the holiday decorations, some of the planters, umbrellas, tables and chairs. And then we've also just seen, for example, there are sponsorships of the cruise night, Jingle Bell Run, and some of the other events within downtown Glendale as well. Essentially, the city has 3 options here in how you wish to vote, and it really is a council direction and policy decision. You can either decide to submit a ballot in favor of the formation of the greater CBD, you can submit a ballot in opposition, or you can choose to abstain. I'll just run through each of these options as you consider the ways in which you'd like to vote. The first option is submitting a ballot in favor of the formation. So should the council decide to cast a ballot in favor, This alternative could greatly improve the chances of the district forming. Again, 5.85% of the total vote is what our property ownership represents. Currently, the city pays about $60,000 a year in assessments. If this area is expanded, the first year alone will pay about $85,000 worth of assessments for all those properties we own. Take that next to the total amount of assessments that will be generated for this future area, and that's $1.4 million. So one way to look at this is that $85,000 a year that we pay in assessments actually gets us $1.4 million in services. We've all seen that whenever our customer service is taken away, that residents and businesses may notice that. So one of the consequences could be, if you were to vote no, if that district is no longer enacted, that suddenly the city could be the one who is having to pay for those additional services lost. So that would be the second option, is that the city could vote a ballot against the formation. If you were to do that, that would more than likely negatively impact the district, and it would be, I think, very difficult for the chances to be for it to be approved. The third option is that you can choose to abstain. So this was the path that the council selected in 2012, and even with the city's abstention, the district ended up approved. It approved by about 70%. So one way to look at this is you could choose to abstain with the thought that you ultimately would like the property owners to decide for themselves. We understand that anytime a property owner is asked to face another assessment, that's something that this council takes to heart, and we may very well just wish to allow the property owners to decide for themselves how they'd like to move forward. Again, last time around in 2012, that was able to move forward with 70% of the votes without the city's without a favorable vote from the city. So with that, it really is up to the council's pleasure on how you would like to cast the vote. After you decide, tonight you will actually be hearing the ballots and the total tabulation of the ballots received over the past 45 days from the other property owners. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. Depending on the council's pleasure, we are seeking a motion from you on how you would like to move forward with the vote.
Yes, sir.
I would move that we authorize the city. I would move that we authorize the city manager to cast a vote in favor of the formation of the district. It's a night and day difference in the downtown area, pre-BID and post-BID. I'm hoping that the same sort of attention, I know that the same sort of attention will be focused on the northern part of Brand, which is our signature street, and deserves no less than the central downtown core. And I think we're looking at efficiencies of scale by extending the district. And as a former landowner in that area, I know that I would have had no objection to paying a modest sum to keep the streets clean, have the ambassadors, have the holiday decorations extended to that region of Brand. So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nigerian. You want to say something, Mr. Carpentier?
No, I agree. I think last time we abstained from voting, right? Just to, in 2012, just to be fair and not try to impose one way or the other. Is that what it was?
That is correct. And that was also, excuse me, sir, that was the first time that the district was being formed, and I believe the attitude at that time was because it was the first year, the council wished to be as neutral as possible. The perspective this year, or I guess the thing that has changed, is that we have now seen a successful 5 or 6 years of the district, so that may be one way to look at it as well.
Okay. Well, I would be okay either way, either to vote for it and move forward, or abstain and let the property owners decide, and there's DGAs there already. I would be okay either way, so I want to hear from my colleagues.
Yes, Ms. Deval.
Well, I guess I'm on the side of the property owners, because I think that's the fairest and the most equitable way for the city to see how this vote goes. you know, we abstained the last time, and I feel that we should abstain this time as well and let the property owners decide. And like you say, they have seen now what the business district has done for this section of the city, and hopefully they will see the benefits and vote for it. So, but I would like to see the city stay out of it for the reasons of fairness and just not getting involved, and let the property owners make their own decisions.
Thank you, Ms. Devine. Mr. Ajanian?
I'm reading here, downtown property owners approved the effort with 69%. I mean, I wouldn't mind one way or another, but I would rather see that we don't get involved with this vote and let the business owners to decide.
Okay, thank you, sir. Can I ask a question? What of staff, what are the arguments against us voting for it? What are the arguments against taking an active position on it?
Taking an active position as far as no?
No,
Or-
no, a yes or a
A
no,
yes?
so abstaining.
Well, if you were, if you were to take that, that yes vote, because we represent 5.85%, the city would heavily influence the outcome of that vote. So
I guess the question is more, what are the pitfalls of expanding the DGA as requested? What are the arguments against it?
So up until this point, and we can speak logically, or not logically, rather, we can speculate on some of the property owners who have either voted no or who are abstaining from this. We actually have not heard of any of those votes to present date. But I think that as far as the city's perspective, the downside would be that the businesses would, or the property owners would be facing an increased assessment.
And this is a mandatory assessment. They would have, it's sort of imposed on them, and then now they have to pay.
Correct. And as a result, they would also see the benefits from the Downtown Glendale Association.
Of course. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, just one clarification, though. If there is an assessment that your statement was forced on them, it will be because the property owners voted 50%, not the city council. The city council can't impose that. I just wanted to make that clear.
I understand, but as what's the percentage ownership that we have?
5.85.
As 5.8%
Yes.
property owner, we would
Yes.
participate in forcing this decision on everyone. And
Correct.
we may be viewed not as a property owner, but the city council who did it, who made the actual decision. I mean, that's the logical.
Which would support the idea of
Right,
let the others decide, and you go along with whatever they choose.
right. And when DGA was established, we stayed out.
That was in 2012.
Did we not, however, vote
Subsequently.
during, subsequently, a couple years ago?
No. No.
We did not?
Once the property owners
That
by
was it.
50% approved it, the council had to take an affirmative step to actually form the district, but it,
Councilman White?
It's okay, yeah, go ahead.
Is that all right?
Comment.
I was present at the last.
You want
meeting.
to state your name?
Yeah,
for-
I'm
just
sorry,
for the
Mark
record.
Lamandry. I'm the executive director of the Downtown Glendale Association. I was present when they voted. The city did cast a ballot. The city manager forgot to sign it, but they did cast a ballot in support. So just to clarify that for the record. We still won, as Jen said, we won overwhelmingly, but the city was involved in that. The city really was deeply involved in that entire process, so, just to clarify for the record.
Ms. Devine?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
And Ms. Devine, if
Oh,
I
go
can
ahead.
say,
Sure.
in either case, though, it was an abstention vote that was cast, whether the city was deeply involved or not. I mean, I just want the record to be clear. In terms of the vote that was cast
Oh,
at
so
the
the
time,
motion was made to abstain?
it was an
and-
abstention.
I see. Got it.
But Jennifer can clarify the record on that piece.
So right now, whenever you were to vote on the ballot, if you don't sign everything, as Marco stated, then he's correct. It kind of goes in that third bucket and it counts as an abstention. So whether the city manager at that time chose not to check that box on a deliberate manner or not, I'm not sure.
But had he
But
even
it-
signed it, it would have been an abstention vote.
If
That-
he
that was
signed
the
and
motion
checked
that
the
was
box.
made.
Oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
my understanding it's either yes or no, so you're either voting yes or no. And submitting that to the record, and I'd forgotten that piece about.
Mr. Najarian, were you around?
So was he voting, I thought we had we had instructed him to vote yes.
There are records,
mind,
and we're just going back with some of the records, and I apologize, I wasn't there at that time either, but the council report shows that at some point, the council did direct the city manager to vote yes, but after reviewing the ballots and hearing some of the other anecdotal conversation that apparently took place, it was an abstention.
So the city manager chose not to.
That is quite interesting, but
I mean, it's
guess
putting
that
the
happened in
pieces
past.
together, yeah, from
Yeah, so it
2012, and
doesn't-
we don't know.
I was wondering what the decision was at the time. Apparently, we don't have any certainty as to that. But I do have a speaker card from Rick Lemo. How much time do you need, Mr. Lemo?
Oh, very quick. Thank you very much, Mayor, City Council. I think it's very important for you to understand that in the last 6 years, the huge difference right now with City Council was that they and all city employees and staff had the benefit of realizing what good the district did for everyone. Just a few ways. I'd like to remind some of you, and I think Councilmember Najarian is the only one to have been here since almost the beginning of time, that we, in fact...
Your time is up.
That's right. Well, my time is up. That the Downtown Glendale Association, before the bid formed, there was a group called the Downtown Merchants Association, which used to get a $15,000 subsidy from the city. And the turnaround now is that the Downtown Glendale Association is at $15,000 in sponsorships to the city. That in the past, the Alex Theater, which was always referred to as the heart of Glendale, was having a difficult time raising funds. We've given over $180,000 in funds to the Alex Theater. I think it should also be kept in mind that this time you send a message, and it's very important for our major contributors, who are also the smallest number of contributors getting any benefit, that being the Americana brand and the Glendale Galleria, will in fact be concerned if in fact the council doesn't support it this time. And the reason is, we're all getting the benefit. Almost everybody but us is getting the major benefit, including the city. And so I would ask that you follow Councilmember Najarian's motion, and please support this, because I will tell you it's going to be an issue with the major contributors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lemo. I did not hear anyone argue that we don't benefit from the DGA, or that its expansion will not benefit these new areas that are being projected to be included in it. I think what I'm hearing is an unwillingness to take role in imposing a fee on the businesses. I mean, that's the way I'm interpreting it. But we do, I mean, you have something to add?
Well, I just,
Ms. Devine?
Mr. Mayor, yes, I just wanted to say that just because I'm suggesting that we abstain, doesn't mean that I'm against this. I am for this. I think it would be good for the district. I just don't feel that we should be the ones that throw the vote over or push the vote over to one way or another to influence the vote. So that's the reason that I'm
You want to abstain?
Yeah, I would vote for the abstain.
I have a question from staff.
Ask your question.
So in what other capacities do we cast a vote with the DGA? As far as the city, we have a seat on the board, right?
Correct.
And what are in what capacity we participate in voting on the decisions that are being made with the DGA?
So I am the designated representative for the Downtown Glendale Association Board. So I'm present at all of the board meetings, and whenever they are voting on items, I'm representing them, representing the city on those boards. And then they also have committee meetings. They have one.
Does our vote count in that? Do we have a voice on that board, or is just a ceremonial board member?
We have, our vote counts.
Okay, so in that case,
5-point-some%, I think, right? I mean,
right. So
whatever.
in that case, I think we need to vote here as well. I mean, if we are voting for every other item, every other decisions that is being made at the board level for the downtown area, I think we need to vote on this item as well.
And at that board meeting, I believe there are 6 board members, of which the city has 1 seat.
So if the city is a voting member of that board, I think we should be a voting member on this item as well.
So only 6 people for, I assume, a large number of businesses. Do these voting members vote by proxy for the individual businesses? How does this work?
If you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to defer to Marco or Rick, who could speak on the bylaws regarding the DGA.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Mark Lamandry. The board has a fluctuation. It can go as low as 5 or as high as 13. Every year we do we send nominations to every property owner in the district. We encourage them to be involved. What we've had is that either people think everything's going great so they don't get involved. We've had actually now 7. And the votes on the board are not weighted by what somebody pays. It's each one member, one vote. For example, Helen, who's got massage therapy, she's a tenant, but she has the same vote as Rick Lemo. So it's one person, one vote on the board. And usually they're not by proxy. Raul Porto's also on the board. He has the same vote as the Galleria. So, and Jen's a very effective board member, too, for the city.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand if an individual business that's in the district that is assessed a fee for the district, how do they have their voice be heard if they're not on the board, which I assume 99% of the members aren't? So how does their voice be heard on the board?
We have 2 business tenants, one from CBRE and Helen from Massage Envy. So 2 of the 7 are actually business tenants. The property owners are the ones that vote on this district according to the state constitution. So we encourage business owners to be involved in our committee structure, which is sidewalk operations as well as district identity. So we would encourage them to be involved in the committee because the committees make the recommendations to the board and then the board implements it as consistent with the engineer's report and the management district plan. So those meetings are all open, they're subject to the Brown Act, et cetera.
Yeah, Rick, you want to add something?
Mayor and Council, I can give you a little input, and his is factual based on law. Ours is a little bit more based on practice. First of all, on a regular basis, through our annual report, through other communications, we solicit the opinions of the property owners. I'm not going to go into some of the decisions we've solicited because we've carried them forward to you even though we didn't support those, okay? But we do represent them. We also invite everybody on a regular basis, if they really don't want to be on the board, to be part of our committee structure. I will tell you that I don't know if it's because they're happy or if because they're busy or a little bit of both, but we've only had, and it's only been recently, like the last week, where a gentleman who voted no and then came to us and changed his vote has also asked to be on the board. So, you know, it's not for lack of trying and it's not for lack of information, but it is our responsibility as a board to speak for people who are property owners that do not have the time or want to put in the effort to meet. And we also send them an annual report annually, but we give them reports through a newsletter quarterly. This really is been recognized as one of the best districts in the state. Okay. A lot of that credit, I think, goes to Mr. Lamandry. He's sort of set us on that path. And I do want to make certain that Councilmember Devine, I think most of our contributors that are on the board, and I'm not speaking for the city, would think that an abstention is equal to or greater than a no. Thank you.
Quick question, follow-up question. So what is the corporate structure of DGA?
The board is the governing structure.
So what is it? What kind of an entity is it?
It is a nonprofit entity.
It's a 501c3, okay.
That's what allows us to make the donations that we make. And by the way, we don't spend any money whatsoever outside of the district, ever.
Sure.
And the assessments are paid by the property owners,
always.
Not the businesses.
But in all fairness, as you know, a lot of that gets passed through.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lemo.
I'm okay to support Mr. Najarian's motion. since we're voting on every other item on that board, I think we should be voting on this item as well.
Okay, so I think that's a second on the motion. We have a motion and a second.
Second, correct.
And we're going to take roll on this.
Councilmember Agajanian?
Yes.
Divine?
We're voting to vote yes.
Direct the
That's
city
the
manager
motion.
to.
That's the motion to vote yes for this. No.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Sinanian?
Yes. Okay, anything else on the agenda?
Move to adjourn.
Closed session.
Do we have a second?
Oh, this is special, second.
We're adjourned at 3:41.